Welcome to Historical Reasons. We bring you amazing stories from history. Subscribe and enjoy the video. German policewoman trained in first aid after WWII after World War II ended. Germany was divided and full of destruction. The police force had to be rebuilt from the ground up. For the first time, women were trained as police officers. They not only kept order on the streets, but also learned basic first aid. This showed how deeply war had changed daily life, turning even police into helpers in medicine and survival. Typing candidates blindfolded in the 1960s. In the 1960s, officers depended on typewriters for every letter and document. To make type faster, teachers trained them with blindfolds on. Students could not see the keys and had to trust their memory and sense of touch. At first it was difficult, but soon they typed without looking at all, becoming very fast and accurate. This strange method helped create skilled secretaries and office workers. Celebration after repeal of Prohibition in 1933. In 1933, Prohibition in America finally ended after 13 long years. During Prohibition, alcohol was banned, but people still made and drank it secretly. On the night the law was repealed, bars filled with crowds of happy people. Glasses were raised, bottles opened, and music played. For many, it was more than just drinking, it was a return of freedom and joy after years of strict rules. O.J. Simpson trial and the glove moment. The 1995 trial of O.J. Simpson became one of the most watched trials in history. The former football star was accused of killing his ex-wife and her friend. One dramatic moment came when Simpson tried on the gloves found at the crime scene. They did not fit his hands. His lawyer then said the famous words, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." This phrase helped win the case, but it also divided the public, with many believing justice was not served. Afghan child's drawing of Warren Kabul. A child once drew a picture that shocked the world. The drawing showed soldiers, guns, and even executions. It was not a happy child's drawing. It was a mirror of the violence the child saw every day. This simple drawing showed how war scars the minds of children. Instead of imagining games or family, they imagined death and fear. Ukrainian famine survivor in 1921. The famine of 1921 in Ukraine was one of the worst in history. Crops failed and millions had no food. Families starved to death in villages, and people were forced to do unthinkable things. One story tells of a boy so desperate that he killed his younger brother and ate him to survive. This tragic story shows the cruel reality of hunger, where survival pushed people to the edge of humanity. Lamplighter in Glasgow in 1955. A photo showed a lamplighter walking the streets of Glasgow with a long pole. His job was to light the gas lamps at night and turn them off in the morning. For centuries, lamplighters had been part of city life. But with the rise of electricity, the job disappeared forever. The picture is a reminder of a time when cities still depended on one man and his pole to bring light after dark. Tragedy on the Eiger Mountain in 1957. The Eiger Mountain in Switzerland is one of the most dangerous climbs in the world. In 1957, climber Stefan Lungi became trapped high on the icy wall. Rescuers tried for days to save him, but he was stuck. His last words were hunger, cold, fear, before he froze to death. His body stayed on the mountain for years until it could be recovered, turning his story into a tragic legend of mountaineering. Nikola Tesla's final days. Nikola Tesla was one of the greatest inventors of all time. But in 1943, he was a lonely old man in a New York hotel. He had given the world alternating current, wireless ideas, and countless inventions. Yet, he had no money and few friends. The last photo taken of him shows a man forgotten by society. Tesla died poor, but today the world remembers him as the genius who shaped modern electricity, Trofim Lysenko, and failed Soviet farming in the 1930s. Trofim Lysenko rose to power in the Soviet Union by promising miracles in farming. He rejected real science and claimed plants could be trained by communist methods. Stalin believed him, and his ideas were forced on farmers. But the crops failed, and millions starved in the Soviet Union. His fake science caused suffering and famine, making his name one of the most tragic in agricultural history. First London Underground ride in 1862. In 1862, London opened the world's first underground railway at Edgware Road. The trains ran on steam, filling the tunnels with smoke and heat. Yet people were amazed. They could now travel across the busy city much faster. This new system became the start of the London Underground, which millions use every day. Vietnamese soldier lights cigarette in 1970. A photo from 1970 in Hanoi shows a young soldier lighting a cigarette for an older man. Both had lost a leg and stood on crutches in a cemetery. Behind them was a sign remembering 45 students killed by a US bomb. It showed how the Vietnam War left scars not only on soldiers but also on schools and children. KKK child meets black officer in 1992 during a Ku Klux Klan protest in Georgia in 1992. A little boy dressed in white robes walked up to a black police officer. He touched the officer's shield and saw his reflection. For a moment, it was innocence against hate. Child saw only curiosity, not racism. The photo became a powerful symbol of America's struggle with division. Bevan boys working in coal mines. 1943, during World War II, Britain needed coal more than soldiers. Thousands of young men were chosen to work underground instead of joining the army. They were called the Bevan boys. Life in the mines was dark, dirty, and dangerous, but without their work, the war effort could not continue. One of the first aerial selfies, 1915. In 1915, a pilot during World War I took a photo of himself while flying his biplane. It became one of the first aerial selfies ever captured. At that time, flying itself was risky, and photography in the sky was almost impossible. The image shows both bravery and curiosity of early pilots. Soviet space dogs, Belka and Strelka, 1960. In 1960, the Soviet Union sent 2 dogs, Belka and Strelka, into space. They completed an orbit around Earth and returned safely. It was the first time living animals went into space and came back alive, proving humans could survive such a journey. The dogs became heroes of the space race. Hanoi residents sheltering. In 1967, during US air raids in 1967, people in Hanoi hid inside sewer pipes along the sidewalks. Sirens warned them to take cover, and they stayed underground until the danger passed. Photos show families crouching in fear, waiting for silence above. Life under bombing turned city streets into battlegrounds. B-25 bomber crash into Empire State Building, 1945. On July 28, 1945, a US Army B-25 bomber crashed into the Empire State Building in New York. Heavy fog made the pilot lose control, and the plane hit the 79th floor. The crash caused fires and killed 14 people. It remains one of the strangest accidents in the city's history. Nancy Reagan kisses Mr. T, 1983. In 1983, at a White House Christmas event, actor Mr. T dressed as Santa Claus. At first, no one dared to sit on his lap until First Lady Nancy Reagan stepped forward. She sat down, kissed him on the forehead, and made everyone laugh. The photo showed a rare, playful side of politics. Harry Houdini chained before escape. Early 1900, Shari Houdini was famous for escaping impossible traps. In one event, he was chained by police and thrown into icy water from a bridge. People waited in shock, but moments later, he emerged free. His escapes made him one of the greatest entertainers in history, and his courage inspired millions. Auschwitz. Child prisoner Istvan Reiner. Photograph shows 4-year-old Istvan Reiner in the striped uniform of a concentration camp. Soon after, he was killed in Auschwitz. The image is heartbreaking because it captures the innocence of a child who had no idea what fate awaited him. His smile stands in strong contrast to the horror around him. Philippe Petit walks between Twin Towers. A man named Philippe Petit amazed the world by walking on a tightrope between the Twin Towers. With no safety net, he balanced high above the city for nearly an hour. Crowds on the ground watched in shock as he performed tricks in the sky. It became one of the most daring stunts ever attempted. Motel owner pours acid into pool during the civil rights protests. A hotel owner tried to stop black and white protesters from swimming together. He poured acid into the pool where they were sitting. The shocking act was captured in photos, and it showed the cruelty and hate that civil rights activists faced in their struggle for equality. George McLaurin studies in segregation. George McLaurin became the first black student admitted to the University of Oklahoma. But because of segregation, he was forced to sit alone in classrooms, cafeterias, and libraries. Even though he studied under unfair conditions, he still succeeded. Showing courage against racism, Princess Diana shakes hands with AIDS patient when AIDS was surrounded by fear and misinformation. Princess Diana visited a hospital and shook hands with a patient without wearing gloves. The simple act sent a powerful message. People with AIDS should not be shunned or feared. Her action helped fight stigma and changed public attitudes. Luft serves beer on flights. Lufthansa Airlines once offered fresh German beer to passengers during flights. It was part of their effort to make air travel more comfortable and cultural. Serving beer thousands of feet above the ground became a small but memorable tradition that showed national pride. Belgian coal miners in an elevator. O photo shows Belgian coal miners squeezed together inside a lift after finishing their shift. Their faces were black with dust, and their tired expressions revealed the harsh life of miners. These workers kept industries alive, but their work was dangerous and exhausting. Girls delivering ice blocks in Manhattan during wartime. When many men were away, women and girls began doing heavy jobs. One photo shows 2 young girls carrying large blocks of ice through the streets. It was hard work, but it proved that women could take on roles once reserved only for men. Apollo 1 crew praying before testing their spacecraft. The Apollo 1 astronauts knelt and prayed for safety. Sadly, during a later test, a fire trapped them inside, and all 3 lost their lives. The prayer photo now feels haunting, showing their bravery and hope before tragedy struck. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like to support our work and share your thoughts in the comments.